Oh, hell, I'm live. What do you know? All right. Well, kind of let me begin here. This week has been hell. Literal. Hell. Not figurative. Literal. A lot of bad things have happened. I spent most of the week on the phone doing this, doing that, doing the other thing. People being arrested, all kinds of crap like this. And that's why it's the week that wasn't, man. You know what? Actually, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go back into the second part of Lost in the Focus. Not happening. It's not happening. Didn't even have time to get into that this week. So this week, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm just making a live show. That's it. So know that right off the top. I didn't have time to look into the second week of the murders, nor anything else for that matter. I've had my head wrapped around a pull concerning everything else, and it has been non-stop. Every time I thought it would stop, it didn't stop. It just exacerbated. So here I am. And you know what? I'm winging it. That's all I'm doing tonight. I'm just fucking winging it. So anyway, man, I'm glad everybody could join me to see the wings, to watch me fly solo here. Miss Cavalier will probably not make it tonight. Is there anybody out there? It says 19 people, and I don't see anybody chatting. I mean, I'm live, right? Am I live? Hang on. Am I live? It says I'm live. No one? Damn, I'm live, man. Right? So I guess if anything, phone in. If you have query, if you have question, if you have a dilemma, give me a ring. I'll be happy to take your call. Ohio gal. Hi, man. Thanks for being here. Barb, Miss Moth, Keith, Gene, Michael Katt. How you doing? Glad you could make it. So, anyways, I didn't really want to answer too much on week 2, as that would be probably just me winging it. But on any questions concerning anything of the crime, the murders, and so forth, please call me. Because otherwise I'm going to be sitting here and I'm going to just be rambling. And you know what sucks about rambling right now? Let me tell you. It's been a year of it. It has been a year of repeating myself. And guess what? It's still going to go on for about another year. So anyway, give me a ring. That will stop the chatter, and maybe we can get to the bottom of a couple questions. Me and you. Give me a call. Nope. Still nobody ringing, man. Still nobody calling. Is my number up proper? Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, looks like my number's all up there the way it should be. Hey, Alaska Blue, man, thanks for being here. You know what? I was going to reach you. Assumed you knew. 6 p.m. Tuesday. There it is. Oh, do it. I don't know about all that, man. You know what? I looked up and I seen the time, and it was like nearing the top of the hour. Yesterday, I was on Icon Show as a special guest, and I wanted to get that link. Pop that up there, man. So, you could go check it out. We was talking about the coronavirus, which was another part of this week. Greeno being locked up, another part of this week. Dude's house being broken into, another part of this week. The guy behind me got arrested. That was another part of this week. Is there anything I'm missing? And I'm positive that there is. I mean, I'm sure that there was a hell of a lot more than that, because it was long, it was extended. It reminded me of I'll hold right there. Radar, how you doing? Yeah, everybody. If there are no phone calls, seriously, if there's going to be no calls, I'm not going to just sit here and talk, man. I mean, that would be like really bad. But I've had a couple people tell me that I tell a real nice story. I'm like, how in the hell do you say that, man? Every time I'm telling somebody a story, they cut me off like mid-paragraph and just start telling me about something that happened to them. I'm like, so apparently I ain't that damn entertaining. I'll tell you, man, I can't be. If I was, people wouldn't cut me the fuck off to begin their own goddamn story. That's me talking. What the hell? I'm not even sure that person's here, man. Oh, okay. I get it. So, do I have a show? Is somebody calling? Somebody call? Anybody? Well, I'm not going to sit here and just keep going. Won't do it. Either A, call, or B, let's get on with life. And I'll be back next week with number 2 of Lost in the Focus. What critics? If you see a critic, send them out. Aladdin their ass. Who's Douglas Rice? Is that D. Rice? He died? Somebody? Anybody? Is that who Douglas Rice is? Call and tell me. This is what I look like when I'm sitting here being quiet. Showered, did my hair and shit. So it was him. No, he didn't. But he hasn't wrote back anybody. I don't think that, well, D. Rice was that dude. He was over at the Lifetime extravaganza, concerning the murder. And he kept getting up and interrupting me, man. I turned around and I said, dude, you get up one more fucking time and I'm going to just nail your ass. Sit the fuck down. That's who D. Rice is. I don't know if that's Douglas Rice or not. Yeah, I cannot tolerate that. And again, it goes back to, apparently I don't talk too fucking well because people will cut me off in a fucking minute. This guy was just, yeah, my hair always looks great though, man. I don't even dwell upon it, man. I just want to look good for a show. But, hey, if anybody goes to Icon's channel, check out when I was like special guest Tuesday. I was ill prepared, man. He called me. He says, hey, man, what you doing for the next 2 hours? Nothing. Fire up StreamYard, man. I want to have you as a special guest. And I'm like, oh, crap. So, yeah, my hair ain't all that there. Now it says, our Douglas Rice had a heart attack and I assume died, but hey, none. How you doing? Oh, it's good to see you here, man. No, I don't. No, I do not. Did he have a YouTube channel? D. Rice. Ten Toes. Did he have that YouTube channel? Well, yeah, but I didn't have, what I told you here, but I mean, I was already on. I mean, if he was subscribed to Icons, you'd know. You would have said, hey, man, there's Katt. Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for that answer myself. Did he have a YouTube channel? No, no, but I wish she was. She'd call in. She'd call. She wouldn't be one of those people that just sat there waiting for somebody else to call in. Hey, what up, dude? Oh, hey, man, she is here. All right, man. Okay, cool enough. Look him IP. I don't. One second here. Let me go back to banners. Or no, you know what? I don't even think I have to do that. There we go. Call in because I want to talk about specifically now Douglas Rice. I want to know what was up, what happened. I mean, if he died, man, I'm certainly sorry if it was the same dude I was threatening to beat up at the Lifetime extravaganza. It's a bunch of crap. Wished I hadn't even went to that, man. You know what? When I went there, man, I thought it was going to be quite a bit different than what it was, because when I showed up, you know what I saw? I saw a Facebook fiasco. That's what it was all about, man. People just sharing a bunch of crap. Nothing factual, just shit. This will not be monetized, I assure you. Hello.
Well, hello, Michael Katt.
Hey, how you doing, Miss Cavalier?
I'm doing pretty well. I just noticed that you were up. Your notice said 4:30, I think.
No, it said 6:30. It would be 4:30 your time.
Oh, sorry about that. It shows on my time.
Hold on one second. One second.
Chatting about.
1 second. Hello? Hello?
Hey, dude. How you doing?
Who is this?
Angie.
Angie?
Yep.
Hope?
Yep.
Okay, hey, could you call back in a minute? I'm already on the phone with someone.
Oh, you are? That was fast.
Yeah, I know. Just hang on, me. Call me back when I finish on the video, okay?
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? That was Delphi Justice calling in.
Would you like to speak to her and I'll call back?
No, I told her to call back after you and I were finished.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it a little race to the phones.
Well, you know what? Nobody was calling forever, so I felt a little discouraged and was ready just to be like, that's it. Aladdin the show. I'm out of here. So, anywho, as it goes, did you have a question of any kind? Or?
No, I didn't get to the questions that I had. You know, I do.
Oh,
just a minute.
Good.
There is a new suspect out there, and his first name starts with a J, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name right now. It's been the last 2-3 days this guy came on the radar.
Okay.
Anybody know his name?
First name starts with the J?
I think so.
Anybody? Because if I know his name, man, hell, I can go check it out, man, for my, and see. Put him through the criteria.
I hang up, I'll see what his name is, and I'll have somebody shoot it into you. Also, I'm wondering if you've got a real simple explanation about DNA, about how they replicate strands.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good thing to go over because I don't think people understand that.
Okay, well, in a DNA molecule, okay, which is long, you have two sides, right? Because it's in a...
It looks kind of like a ladder.
Yeah, but there's a there's a word, man. Starts with a D. Anyway, what happens is that they add the protein, which causes those sides to split into two different sides. Now, it's in a fluid, okay, because each of the four, like you got A that goes to C, that goes to T, that goes to G. So if you have a G, it will align with T, and a C back to A. If you have a C over here, it will go to A over here. And that's the pattern that makes the DNA. So when they add this protein, the DNA will split out into two pieces. But it's in a fluid that contains A, T, C, and G, so that those sides will then duplicate and then make two differing strands of exact DNA. Now, that's how you replicate DNA. Now, hang on. See, because they're called A, T, C, and G, but the thing is that's the beginning name of each protein that attaches. I don't actually know the full names of those. Look, it's been years since I actually studied genetics, so, just take it for what it's worth. It is A, T, C, and G. But that's how they reduplicate that, because they add the protein, they split it, and then it goes back together into a whole. That way you can take one strand of DNA, split it, make two, take those two, split it, make four, and it goes up exponentially from there. If that's simple enough.
Go ahead.
No, I said if that was simple enough.
That is simple for me to understand, and I hope for the people that are listening to understand.
Well, yeah, if you got... Go ahead.
You were interested in genetics?
I took genetics for a few years up at home. I got college books on them, and I did a lot on that. Actually, I really started back in the day with like Mendelian genetics, and then I got into like quantitative genetics, and then that steered into, more of like into the DNA, the strands, the traits, so forth like that. Actually, back then, I knew a hell of a lot more than what I know now, because I never used it. You either use it or you lose it. And a lot of it's kind of gone, but I still remember the basics.
Well, what do you think about genetic family testing?
Well, honestly, man, the way that they use that, CC Moore, she can take the DNA and then look to the like ancestral database, to find like a family name that fits with these traits. And then she's got to break that down, because the software will break it down so far. Now, once it gets down to the point where they can't go any further, then they got to do it manually by creating the family tree down. And that's how they did with John D. Miller up in Fort Wayne, by the same way. And she took it down to the point where she says it's one of these two brothers right here. And then they had to go get their DNA out of the garbage. And it was John D. Miller's who matched completely back to the suspect's DNA. That's when they went and got him. So, I think that there's a lot there, but what I don't really like about it is if a person puts their DNA into an ancestral database, they have no idea that people can use that like for like legally searching. And it's kind of like, but I understand that if it's murder, it's maybe a little bit different. But like, what if that person had put their DNA in there and was hit just directly? I don't know that they've had that, but it could happen.
It could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they, because there was questions with one of the ancestry sites that there was another one formed that was completely police friendly. And they could look at any DNA in that database. And I can't remember the name of the new company that was formed, but no, I probably don't know. I might get the wrong one.
It's fine. I do it all the time.
Me?
I say, go ahead, man. I do that same shit all the time.
23andMe?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's user-friendly for law enforcement.
Well, but here's the thing, and this is the part that bothers me, is that they can go in there without your permission and look at your DNA. Now, if I did that and I put mine in there and they was looking through them, I would have said, hey, wait a minute. Why are you looking through my DNA? Do you take me to be a suspect? Well, no, it's everybody's DNA. And I was like, yeah, well, guess what? I didn't sign on for that. And that is my dislike of that.
I think with the new company and why they, the reason that they formed it was that you had to agree to allow, it says something like, I want my DNA available. So right at the very beginning, and that's why they formed the new company. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, that sounds more correct, because if they was doing it without that, then it would be kind of, how do I want to phrase it? It would go against, like, our rights to actually be looking through our DNA. Because of all the people that had DNA in there, they're looking for a match of a family to break that down to them. Well, if they're looking through my DNA and I did not give them permission to do that with my DNA, then yeah, then that's a little obstacle. Now, if you have that disclaimer up front that, hey, when you do this, it is going into a database that is police friendly, and they can look through that to find the DNA. And, I mean, then it makes it a little bit different, I guess.
It does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Thomas Bruce is doing in jail to entertain himself?
Yeah, you know what?
What do you think his cell is like? I mean, is he in a protected area?
Well, I would believe he'd have to be, because he's under suicide watch, so they wouldn't have him in population.
Are any of those extracurricular things available to him? Does he get out and exercise?
Probably by himself, maybe, but it's unclear. When I was in isolation there in Carroll County, we didn't get out every day. In fact, man, we was lucky to get out like once a week for an hour, go to a library. That was it.
Huh.
Yeah, I
know a lot of states
snoring.
Have mandated schedules where they have to be let out, 1 hour for the law library, 1 hour for exercise.
Well, it depends on where you're at. I mean, say as an example, man, that if I was in Carroll County and I was in the net house, the padded room, man, they don't let you out of there. They don't go, oh, hey, come on, crazy dude, man, let's go out and get some rec. That stuff's toyed with by law enforcement, man. They just don't hand it out. You got to feel pretty honored if they do. But it depends on where you're at, which jail, what you're in there for, so forth. Now, you know what? Going back in time.
Indiana or in Missouri?
Do what?
There are no state standards from state to state?
I don't know. But even at that, it could depend on where you are. I mean, are you in a pod with other people? You'll get wrecked. If you're not, and you're in suicide watch or the padded room or isolation, then it may differ. It really may.
So he's not living a stress-free life.
Yeah. Hell, they got him on value, man. He's got it made. No. I don't think that he's sitting in there living a stress-free life at all, man. I think he's looking at like what he's going to be looking at down the road.
I think that would be depressing, don't you?
I know it would be. I mean, but hell, man, I mean, what would you want done for him, man? Volumes?
I just wonder if they try to study, like the FBI ever tries to study the new guys that are coming in. I know they studied the Ted Bundys and all that.
Well, now wait, hold on. Let's talk about Ed Kemper. Okay, they did not do that with him. And they got him in a California mental hospital. He's been there since the early 70s. And a psychologist comes in once a week. How you doing? Pretty good. Anything changes? No. Okay, see you next week. Bye. But as an overall person whose mind should be studied, concerning, it would be him. He is a prime example of environment right there. And he's like one of the only people that I can point to and say environment caused that. Now, why aren't they in there like checking into this and looking at it?
And he seems like a pretty decent guy until he wants to, he deliberately wants to scare you. And I think he has a reaction to that.
Who?
Kemper.
He wants to scare you?
Yeah, no, a group of FBI agents went in to study how he felt about what he did.
Right.
I guess, from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they wanted to dig into his brain, but they wanted to know what his feelings were about killing his mother and all that. And they did, and they would go along just fine for a certain amount of time. And then he'd say to the FBI agent something like, "And I could reach over and crush your neck before you could get help."
I've never heard of that.
Really?
Never. In every interview I've seen with him, I mean, he showed complete remorse, even right down to almost like tearing up when he was talking about killing his mom. You know, he's like looking back, he goes, because I wish I had just left her be. He goes, and if I could go back, I would have. He goes, because by killing your mom, he goes, you're really killing yourself. And I mean, he was very remorseful about all of it, including the co-eds that he killed. And he was talking about that and how, how do I want to put it? It was like he didn't want to have to go back and kill the other girl. You know, he felt very bad about the first girl he killed, but then because the other girl was with her, he had to go kill her as well. And then he felt really bad because when she looked at him, she's like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Look, man, your friend got smart with me and I hit her, man. I mean, she's very scared, needs your help, man, if you don't mind coming with me, you know." And that's when like she stood up. He had a knife, man, got her in the belly, but it didn't go through the clothes that she was, and kind of lifted her off the ground. I'm not saying that like it was funny, but he's like, why am I telling you this? You know, it was bad enough that it happened, but to be that person, and then, you know, you have to realize like, oh my God, now what have I done? And, you know, I've never seen where they went in to talk to him and he said anything out of the way like that. That actually comes off. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I will find it and send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, do. Because I would like to see that. In fact, I wrote Kemper.
You did?
Yeah, what, months ago. Because I thought that he was a person, you know, by environment that was brought to that, you see. And I thought, well, there would be someone out there smart enough, bright enough, self-studied enough to answer a question concerning why a guy would do that, you know, go out, except his weren't the same as. TB liked to humiliate, brutalize. You know, he was very sick and twisted, where I think on the other side of that, Ed Kemper, yeah, he did. And I mean, but it wasn't so much to be brutal and humiliating so much as it was to kill. See where I'm at?
How many did he kill? I have forgotten.
You know what? I don't actually know the full number. In fact, I would hate to guess. I would say somewhere in an area 12, maybe. It could be more than that. Could be less than that.
He's not a bad looking man.
You know what? I don't know about all that. You know, I mean, it's not like I look at him and I'm like, you know, but he's just a big guy. I mean, he's pretty smart. He's very smart, actually. And when you hear him talk and he talks about like his remorse, you really feel the remorse. I mean, you can see it in him, in his face when he talks about it, you know, that, yeah, because he'd even said, man, many times that he wanted to go turn himself in. He said, I went to the jailhouse, man. I was like parked across the way and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I should just go turn myself in. He goes, and every time he goes, man, he goes, it was like hearing those steel doors slam. And he goes, I know I'd never be getting out. So I don't know about the part with the FBI agent, but that sounds a lot like Caligula, you know, to say something like that. You know, it's like, I mean, if you know who Caligula is.
Yes.
See, he was like, they had this big party and everything, and he was sitting there talking to a couple and everything. He busts up laughing, man, just snickering and just giggling, man. Like, why, man? What is it, man? He's like, you know what? I could just make a motion, and both of you would, my security would come over here and just kill both of you. And it's like, yeah, it's twisted, pal.
Well, that's
Not
kind
there.
of what I had heard or read that Kemper did.
Well, I mean, I never did, but there was probably about a week or two where I was looking into him specifically because I was looking to write someone who could have some answers on why someone would grow up and then commit murders like this. And I thought by using someone whose environment had changed them and made them that way, and besides that, man, the guy was very bright, and I thought that he would have good answer. Now, after I wrote him, and I had mentioned that on a show of mine, somebody said, he just had a stroke, and I thought, great. Yeah, that's not good. So I never got a reply back.
I wonder if he even gets his mail.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have to. I don't think that they stop mail.
Well, you know what amazes me is that all these guys look normal except for one thing. And I don't know if it changes after, this is going to sound a little crazy.
Maybe
but
not.
Their facial expressions stay the same, and it seems like their eyes are just dead.
Yeah.
There's no substance.
Yeah, I agree. Most all of them that I've seen, if you look at them in the face, you kind of get that feeling. Now, maybe on the outside you wouldn't, when you was talking to him, you would think like, oh, this is a good guy, man. Really not, just like with TV. But when you see him, then you can tell. But even if you could like say, well, they look a little, wacky or whatever, pretty good guy. But after the fact, when you look at him, it's like, yeah, that dude did it. No doubt. Just like TV. When you look at him now, man, in like his mugshot and when he's in court, you're like, yeah, that dude was meant to. He just has that look.
Nothing, no emotion in those eyes. I'd be scared shitless in court like that.
Well, yeah.
Oh, can I say that?
Yeah, man, go ahead, man. Believe me, this ain't monetized now the way I started.
Were you ranting and raving?
Hello, maybe. I don't know. You'd have to ask others, man. I don't know.
You're entitled twice a week to rant and rave.
Richard who? Tony? Ramirez? Go ahead.
He was evil looking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I was kind of getting back to, because almost all of them, you look at Ted Bundy, they said Ted Bundy was handsome and all this, but man, when you look at him and you look at his eyes when he's talking, man, you realize that there's a part gone. There's a part segmented over there, man, where this guy's not what he looks like exactly.
Yeah, and he blamed his urges to kill on pornography.
Yeah.
Said,
well, it started off light, man, with, like the old mystery magazines. We'd go into soft porn, but then it kept, exacerbating and getting like, where he needed it more and more and more. Yeah, Richard Ramirez. Right, yeah. Exactly.
Well, wasn't Ramirez, when they caught him, didn't the neighbors surround him?
A whole bunch of people did. Oh, wait a minute. What? There she is. Hold on. Bam. Michelle Trine. I just happen to know who she is. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
What year was Ramirez active in California? I can't remember. Was it back as far as the 80s?
I think that was, I want to say early 90s.
Could have been.
Yeah, I think it was early 90s, but I can't give an exact year. But I know it was back in that time.
Samuel Little is another one. I don't understand.
And that was on Incognito Society's channel?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to see part of that video. And Samuel Little, he killed so many women. And the fact that he could remember what they looked like, I mean,
you know what? A lot of those people, some of them, a lot of them are fairly bright. You know, I mean, I'll point that out. I mean, like some of them really are. And I don't know what would make a bright man go do that. But at the same time, I mean, just like him, he could remember them, where they were, where the body, kind of crazy, but it is one of those things that's somewhat like symptomatic of some of them. Some of them are really dumb and just go do it. I mean, I'll use as an example, Larry Hart. Wait, was it Larry Hart? Larry and Gary, right? Larry Dwayne Hart. Anyway, he wasn't all that bright of a guy. But, 58 different women, person of interest in. What'd they get him on? Kidnapping and crossing the state line. That's what he's in prison for. The rest of them, man, I called down to, and again, I think it was Fayette County, and I talked to the people there, and, I'm telling them, I'm like, look, man, the biggest person of interest that I'm looking at here is Larry Hart. And unless you guys can go talk to him and get that out of him, this will always remain a cold case. It always will. It will go down in history as a cold case. And I think it shows that his brother was there, Gary, because there had to have been somebody there, because suspect wiped off the driver's side door handle. The whole driver's side and the inside. So it showed that he was driving her vehicle, or the vehicle she was driving, I should say.
And that was how far from you?
Oh, good grief, man. It's east of Indianapolis, and that's 65 miles. Probably close to 80 miles away from me, because he lived up in Marion, him and his brother. And that's north of me a piece, man, to the east.
So, how far is it from where he killed to where they actually lived? 80?
More than that. But they had a Civil War reenactment down there the weekend before that. And he would usually go back and stalk the areas where they did that at. And that was another thing that pointed to him as being a person of interest there.
The reenactment or the stalking?
Well, both, actually, because when they would go to a Civil War reenactment, then they would, he would, and I guess sometimes his brother would as well, go back and then stalk that area, which is really weird, man. I mean, like, why would you go to a Civil War reenactment that you were involved in and then go back to that area to stalk? But that's how he did it. He did the same thing in Michigan. Wabash, I'm sorry, you're right. Wabash, Indiana, not Marion. My bad. Call that one on me. God, man.
And he murdered in Michigan?
And, all over the place. Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan. I think even down south, down into the Carolinas, because they would both travel to go to the Civil War reenactments. And I think that some of them, and that's coming from Larry as well, he says, I'm getting tired of just, taking over here. I mean, my brother has some blame as well, kind of pointing at him as a person that helped him. And I mean, like, if you look at Denise Flume, right there is a perfect case, because there had to have been another person with him.
Because of the seat being moved?
Because of what?
Because of the car being in different... No, wait a minute. I'm confused.
Well, where her car was found at, it was wiped clean of prints. Well, there had to be a suspect vehicle, right? So now...
Pick him up.
Yeah, so if he got out and was asking for, hey, man, our car kind of broke down, man, I need to ride into town, man, if you could help me out, then abduct her, park her car there, Well, he had to have a place to put her, because if she was in the car with him walking back and the suspect vehicle was parked right there at the four-way stop for that long, somebody would have seen it. You see where I'm at? So it shows that he abducted her, got her into the suspect's vehicle, then drove her car back and wiped it down in prints. That's why it shows that there was a second person there, just because of the time it took to go from her house to there was 21 minutes. Okay? 21 minutes exactly. And I mean, that was timed in both directions, the north route, the south route, both the same, both ended up at the same four-way stop. So, upon getting there, like I said, I mean, like if he had left it parked right there at a four-way stop, drove her back there, got out, wiped it free of prints, and then back right there on Tower Road, the suspect's vehicle would have been seen. Now, if he put it in the suspect's vehicle with an accomplice and they drove back in the same direction right there, that farmer's lane, then he wiped it out and got back, then they're gone. But to do it otherwise, it would have took too long, because the farmer went by between 1 and 1:15 and already seen her car back there, and there was nobody there. That means it was quickly done, very quickly. And I think that if he had to take that car back there, wipe it down, and then walk back to his vehicle with her, somebody at that point would have seen the vehicle. It was a pretty well-traveled road, but nobody's seen anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I can't remember whether it was a country road or a well-traveled road.
Well, it's a country road, but it's Tower Road. And a lot of people go there going to, and I forget the name of the city that sits just south of there. But it also splits where it goes to, God, I forget the name of the poor town, Everton, I believe. So, I mean, like, people did travel that road, and that road came right off the highway there that goes to Glenwood.
I don't know how these guys do this so fast. I mean, the Delphi killings were what, maximum 22 minutes?
Well, yeah, but right, that part, but I mean, he was there 3 hours.
He was there all 3 hours, and I understand he was probably scoping out the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
But the actual murders didn't take all that long.
Correct. Yeah. No, I'm with you entirely. I mean, he waited for that, and there was the opportunity, which we know what happened, where they went. Now, if you take it from the time of abduction to the time he left, then it would extend further than that, further than 22 minutes. Because then you'd have to go from the bridge, down the thing, down the walk, and then cross the creek to get there. And then that part right there was 20 to 22 minutes of actual crime.
It's still a long time when you're terrified.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. There was, right. Oh, hey, Randy Gravitz here. Hang on a minute. Randy, what up, dude? Go ahead. See how I'm not rambling?
I still don't understand how they plan it. I mean, I understand it, but I'm wondering, I guess, what they're thinking while they're packing what they need for that day.
Probably everything. He was prior Navy, and I'm sure that he had anything that would be needed. As far as he could imagine. Which I don't know what other than, but I'm certainly going to speculate that a handgun was involved, that, for duress reasons. But aside of that, I don't know what else. I would even think a knife. Most of his victims were killed by a knife. Or strangulation, depending. Because the one that was by strangulation, I think that was in his car, in his vehicle. And he didn't want it bloodied up.
Now, let me ask you this. I know, like in World War I and II, the military was trained with bayonets. Do they still do that?
Look, man, when I went in 86, I was Army, though, but we didn't train with bayonets.
Did you train with other weapons other than guns?
Yeah, like a riot baton, shit like that. Yeah.
Huh. No, I don't
But
know.
but but
Maybe he did have a riot baton in his pants. This book
no,
had,
no.
you
You
don't
know,
think so?
no. Look, man. I think it goes more in humiliation, and I think he liked to, especially outdoors like that, and at a trail. Probably the biggest thing that would likely have been used would have been a knife. Now, if you look at Ann Pates, well, you know what? I kind of take that back because Mary Pryor was strangulation, and I don't know, or I don't believe that he cut her. But then again, I mean, at that time right there, where would he have had a knife? He would have had to always carry a knife. Whereas in the second one, he did have a knife because Ann Pates, man, I mean, yeah, her neck was slit open, and they went to somebody's house. I mean, I could pull this up, but it would just take too long. But they went to somebody's house with a search warrant looking to see if they had done it, and they found a handgun. A handgun wasn't on the items that they were searching for. Now, that's the document I pulled up that was legal, and they was looking for a knife, which basically said that her neck was slit. So, but that was Ann Pates. Mary Pryor, quite the opposite. She was strangled to death.
Yeah, but then there's a big difference in what he might have done with the sexual assault of the 77-year-old lady and what he actually did do at the Catholic supply store.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a difference in those, and he's charged in both of them. But I mean, it's not the same behavior pattern at all. With the older lady, he probably wound up a salesman or something and came to her door and forced his way in. And when the phone rang, he left.
Yeah.
Because he thought it was her husband. But he did assault her.
He sexually assaulted her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And that's what's common in those two, but there's a lot that's not common.
Such as?
The way he entered, I mean, he went to a residence versus a business. One woman versus three.
Yeah.
Killed one, didn't kill the others.
Right.
And committed sodomy. And, I would expect that maybe the first woman he attempted to sodomize her.
He may had. I mean, it was never released, nor was her name.
No, and I'm just wondering, he doesn't have a pattern, a set MO.
Well,
always
yes and no. Because I think normally, I think that humiliation and the brutality of the murder and the act itself. There she is. There's Incognito. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your videos.
Absolutely. She does the most brilliant videos.
I agree.
Yes.
I view them. Thank you.
So back to Delphi and Mary Pryor and Ann Pate.
Yeah.
But with the sexual assault, it was just, not that far apart. What, 2 months?
On what?
Between the sexual assault that he's charged
With
with
the 77-year-old? Yes. Yeah, it was exactly 2 months. Or pretty close to 2 months. The first one was on the 27th of September. The next one was on the 19th of November. See.
Well, what do you think accelerated him? That seems pretty close together.
C.C. Moore.
Okay, explain.
Well, okay, John D. Miller, they put her on the case in May of 2018. And she broke that down to John D. Miller within 2 months because they arrested him in July of 2018. Now, at that time, because we was contacting Sheriff Tobe Lesenby of Carroll County, and he wanted her contact information. But now what was weird about that was the following day it said that Carroll County investigators are now using the same technology as what got John D. Miller. So now that went out in July of 2018, after John D. Miller was already arrested. Now, if you look at that and you was following the case, and law enforcement said that the killer was likely following the case, then he would have seen that. He would have known that they was using that same technology, looked it up, said they got him in 2 months. And my family has DNA in a ancestral database because all of his emails begin with Scotsman. So he was a very proud Scotsman. They had looked up their ancestry, and he knew that it was going to come back to him in due time. So what happened? 2 months later, at about the time that he figured, like, okay, they're going to be knocking on my door any minute, that's when he starts going out and doing these things right there in his hometown. The sexual assault on the 77-year-old lady. Then the following month in October was the traffic pullover. Don't know why they didn't arrest him. And then you go to the next month in November, there it was. There was a Catholic supply store, sexual assault and homicide. So I think that it was kind of breaking down that he knew any minute, man, they was going to be at his door. I think he was looking at on the last one with the Catholic supply store, sexual assault and homicide, police suicide. He knew they was going to come to his house in due time. There they was going to be. He had a pistol. Guess what? He died by cops. And I think that that's what he was looking at, man. And again, once more, I must give it to law enforcement for playing that correctly. Because when they entered his house, I don't think he had time to get to a pistol. I think it was just bam, a black guy. Yeah, I think he tried to give a little bit of fight, and they just took him out, man. Said, no, thank you, buddy. Your ass is going to jail, and you know why. The rest came thereafter.
Very possible. I mean, it's the only thing that fits. He is the only suspect that fit everything.
To my knowledge, yes.
There's nothing that convinces me more than the fact that St. Louis contacted all these other police departments.
Well, they contacted Delphi, and I think it was like next day. I mean, when his fingerprints came back as the Delphi unknowns, I think that that's why they called. I think that's why they looked into it. They gave him a call, and they said, I've repeated many times what they said. We got a guy, man, that committed the first-degree murder, sexual assault on 3 women. He looks like your sketch. He'd never broken the law before. The one thing that was never pointed out to in the news article or probably even mentioned was the fact that his fingerprints came back that. Because if they did say that, then they would be like basically telling everybody he did it. And I think that they wanted that kept secret anyway, and that's why they didn't mention it to the newspaper.
Well, he's got family, right?
Who? Thomas Bruce?
Thomas Bruce.
Yeah. Of course. He's got a son. He's got two wives. I mean, one ex, of course. His family still, well, his parents don't, I don't want to say where his parents live. I don't want to kind of push that button, but I know that his family and where he grew up was right there in Montrose, Michigan. Now, he's got a brother that lives in Fort Wayne as well. But if you look at from St. Louis to Fort Wayne, that takes the Hoosier Heartland, which goes right by Monon High Bridge Trail. Now, one thing I do want to state right there is I was looking through the videos, and in the first week, in one of the press conferences, one of the officers said the suspect knew the trail. He knew the trails very well. So we feel that it was somebody that had been to the trails many times. And that's what I was thinking right there, because en route to his brother's house and or his family, he probably took the Hoosier Heartland and had stopped there many times. Knew the trail very well. In fact, the day that he went there on the 13th, he probably went there to scout down the south side of the bridge, make sure nobody was down there camping, fishing, anything like that. And he knew where to cross at. He knew where the lowest level was at.
I wonder if they're going to be able to track him enough to know when he came through there, the dates, and if they can track him up to Evansdale.
You know what? I think that he will come out with that. Evansdale, I think that he will. It's because he can't face the death penalty there. That for one, it's not a death penalty state. So he could go ahead and admit to that. But in Delphi, they got him balls to the wall. Same goes with Ann Pates, Mary Pryor. All of them DNA fingerprints, but they had no one to point to. Exactly, I must say, like Delphi, Indiana. And all of that says one thing. The person of all three of those had never been arrested ever before. No fingerprints on file in the legal database.
In some of these older murders, like from up by Gary or wherever, and I don't have specific names, but say they're 40 and 50 years old. How long do you think it'll be before law enforcement starts testing all of their unsolved cold cases?
Probably not very long. C.C. Moore had said that, man, I forget which one it was, man, where they had DNA, and she's like, I would love to get on that if law enforcement asked me to. I don't know. I don't want to say Zodiac, but for some reason, Zodiac comes to mind. And I know that they had something there, and I forget why, if it was blood from him or a fingerprint. There was some...
He looked at him.
Do what?
And that's one thing I do know.
What?
They were testing spit from a stamp in an envelope.
That Zodiac sent?
Yep.
There it is.
They were.
There it is. Okay.
And I remember that because I was listening quite a while ago to Paul Holmes when they were talking about the process to get through to the Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
And that, Zodiacs had been sent in and it was going to take a long time because they were testing very old spit on a stamp in an envelope.
You're right. And I mean, when you bring it up like that, yeah, because he had been sending law enforcement like letters and all like that. And I kind of spaced that out. But yeah, that is where DNA would have came from. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's been, I want to say 2.5, 3 years ago, because it was right in the middle of the Golden State Killer, I think. The last 4 years of it, that they announced that they were going to try to solve the Zodiac killing. And
I'd like to see that happen. I would. If the guy's still alive, that'd be cool as shit.
Exactly. And C.C. Moore has just, she is actually one of the women with incognito that I admire the most that I've heard, because she didn't ask for any of this limelight and glory, but she seems to be handling it well, and she's certainly contributing to a lot of these unsolved murders that are out there.
I agree. When we put that, me and Greeno, because we wanted to make a video speaking to her. Now, he wasn't here, so I went out and I did my part, and he went and did his part, and then we kind of pieced them together, man, with some music in the background, and made that and put that up for her to see on YouTube. And she's seen it, and you know what? It's back there. If you check my channel, like my older videos, the one where we was talking to CC Moore, you can go like right down in the chat where she answered that. And I was like, yes, outstanding. Because when they said that they was using the same technology, I thought she's working this case. Now, what bothers me is that 2 months went by, 3 months, 4 months, and then it was like,
yeah,
well, how's come he ain't hit yet,
Well, no, I did read a while ago, and it was a newspaper article. I remember it very well. There was a woman out involved with another killing, and it took her I think almost 2.5 years or a little bit more to complete the human part.
The human part?
The human part of the tracking for genetic family DNA. You see what I mean? They they find the DNA, then the software goes so far, and after the software,
yeah, right,
and gets it.
yeah.
And it took her that long to locate this killer. I think it was out in California as well. But not all of those go real fast.
Well, I mean, if you look at John D. Miller and you come up with the last name of Miller as your, the person's family name, that's a lot of people you got to go through. There are probably more Millers there's many Millers as there are Smiths in this country. It just seems like that there would be so many available options out there. Now, if you look at the last name Bruce, it seems like it would be far easier. But I mean, I don't know that exactly, but it seems like it would be.
I don't know. When I Google his name in various sites, the first 2 or 3 will come up Thomas Bruce. But then it'll come up Bruce Thomas. And then it'll come up with George Bruce. And so I don't always get a pure, exact search out of anything with 2 common names attached. Do you see what I mean?
To a degree.
So it might take another 3 years in a complicated case to get to the final genetic answer. And I don't know, because of it, I can look at it 2 ways. That maybe it has to be double checked behind you by another person as you're going to make sure it's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps law enforcement just uses that as a tool to go out and collect DNA from the trash once they pinpoint the name of the person.
Yeah. Well, Thomas Bruce, and I don't know exactly to whom, used the DNA. I don't know if it was him, his brother, his dad, or who had done that. But to know that you're a Scotsman, and especially to the level that he did. I mean, if you look at all of his personal emails, I think he goes back to Robert the Bruce, King of Scotland. And, again, it seems like it would have been easier than John D. Miller, an unknown guy, man, who's with a very common name. But to trace it down like that and then do the last part manually, it seems like that would have been harder than with a person with the last name of Bruce. But I mean, that's me. But I don't know I know in the paper it said that they was using the same technology as got John D. Miller. Now, the only person I could put that to would be C.C. Moore. Now, and 2 months later, bam, this begins this breakdown right there. Because all of that happened right in St. Louis, man. The sexual assault, the traffic pullover, the Catholic supply store sexual assault and homicide, all that right there. Now, this guy had never been arrested before. And think about that. Never been arrested, and he was out there committing all these murders. Kind of odd. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Alaska Blue, he does not go by Double Ants now, and I forget the new name. I'm sorry, but he did send me an email and said that his name was going to be this, and he'd probably be here tonight. So when he shows up, hopefully he'll say what his name is, or we'll see it. Go ahead. Carry on.
Uh-huh. Well, I am going to let you go, and I might call back a little bit later, but I'll give somebody else another chance.
Okay. Well, Angela was calling.
Okay.
Delphi Justice.
Take care, and I'll chat with you soon.
All righty, man. Thank you for calling, Miss Cavalier. Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right, Angela, stop me from rambling, man. Stop me from being a rambler. Oh, wait. Better throw up the number here. There we go. That's how you call, man. That's how you get in. You just ring, and there I'll be. Talking, rambling, just saying stuff in general. But in the meantime, let's talk about, well, what should we talk about? Thanks for being here, Catherine from Florida. Awesome. Awesome you could be here. anyone accept the challenge yet. What is the challenge? Are you guys talking about the double curtsy naked? I'll do it. I will if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I will, man. Yeah, you bet. Incognito, call in, man. You know, give me a call. No, man, I thought it was fun. I got like an itchy grab hand. Anyway, Angela, Incognito, yeah. Phone number. Why don't you call in and ask me? Why don't you call in and ask, huh? Do you not know my number? Just call on in. Oh, $10 challenge. $10 challenge. Yeah, it's very doubtful I'm wrong. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Are you calling for me?
Yeah? How you doing?
Sorry, I was in and out. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. You know what? Watch your channel. Kind of share it out here and there.
Are you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh,
What?
hang on. Hold on, Incognito. Gotta wait a minute. I know, but, you know, you always got to take first caller first here. Go ahead, man. Did you have a question?
This is Justice, Angie.
Do what?
You know who you're talking to?
Don't fight justice?
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
No, I was telling Incognito because my phone had another call coming in. I just asked her to call in. So, did you have a question at all?
No, I got a message that you were calling, or you wanted me to call in.
Yeah, I did. I wanted you to call back.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, well, did you want me to just talk to you, or did you have a question, or, you know?
Well, I thought you had something you wanted to ask.
You?
Yeah.
Well, okay, hang on, man. Allow me to look at this. You called in, but I didn't really...
Well, you were talking about Doug Rice.
Yes, Doug Rice. Right. Now, is he D. Rice?
Yeah, D. Rice, Doug Rice.
Okay. Well, then that is the same guy. Well, I'm sorry you had a heart attack. I mean, I really am. I mean, ain't nothing like, you know, I mean, I didn't want, but it was just like at that Lifetime thing, man, he was just being a real douche. And I'm sorry for talking about him like that now, knowing he's dead, but at the same time, he was.
Yeah, that was a bad situation. And him and I, we were cool for a long time. And then, things went bad. And it's sad because you wish that things would have worked out, I guess, before something like this happened.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
But yeah, I heard late last night. I think it was late last night or early morning that he had a heart attack. So I feel bad for his wife.
Well, and him. I mean, I don't, it's one of those things, man. If somebody dies of a heart attack, I mean, well, what do you? It's like I didn't want that, but I did want him to shut up while I was like explaining my methodology there.
Yeah, that was Doug. That was a bad situation there.
You were there.
I was there.
That's right. I remember very well you was there.
We tried to. Delphi Truth Squad was there.
I don't know them, but...
Yeah, you do.
I do?
Yeah, she's a good friend of yours.
Who?
Delphi Truth Squad.
From chat here?
Yeah, she pops in sometimes. She's a good friend.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know her, do I?
Yeah.
Personally?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, would you,
RB.
RV?
B as in boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you came with her.
Oh, yeah, yes. Right. Yeah, she called in last week even. Okay, I know. Okay, I got you. No, it was RB. Not anymore though. She got remarried, you know.
Yeah, I saw that on a post that because she was having trouble with, I think her water heater. Yeah, but yeah, that was something. That whole thing was something anyway. So
Yeah, you know what? I was very quick to just be like, okay, man, we got to go. You know, we got to leave. I said, I ain't doing this anymore. Oh, wait.
yeah.
Well, okay. My week. I mean, and I'll get to that. I'll get back to it. I promise. Okay, go ahead, man.
This past week.
Oh, it was hell.
Oh yeah.
Well, so much so I couldn't do anything. Look, man, it started off bad, and I explained this to a person. The person says, well, you know what? Just go ahead and make a video talking about how all this happened and, you know, and just make a video to put up. I said, all right. So I started to make that video, started coming up with some ideas. And I mean, like to end the week with, my last living aunt died, you know, to end the week. And it's just been one thing after another this week. So nothing got done. I didn't make the Lost in the Focus, the second edition to that, but I was still going to make the video for the first one because last week was live, but what I wanted to do was create the video for that. So that didn't get done, and neither did this story. And I mean, it has, man. Even like right here where I live at, it has been hell. I mean, a lot of weird shit's happened out here, and it's mind blowing. It's just been a crazy week. I shouldn't have left the house.
Well, I'm sorry, Katt, and I'm real sorry about your aunt.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Sorry.
Here's kind of the thing with my aunt, and I mean, I do say this because it's when I was little, okay, my grandparents, because we lived 35 miles north of Kokomo, but they both worked at Delco. So when I was young, when they would go to work, I'd have to get up, you know, before daybreak, go into Kokomo with them, and they'd drop me off at her house. She would watch me, right, when I was in kindergarten, first, second grade, you know, like that. She watched me. Well, every single day, she would make me eat a bowl of tomato soup. And I could not even choke that stuff down. I hated it so bad. And she was Sicilian, man. And she was evil like that, man, when I was little, man. I mean, it's like for real, man. My cousins, I won't give their names, but, you know, my cousins, and they were about my age. I think the girl was 1 year older than me, and the boy was 2 years older than me. He's who I hung out with most of the time. And if either one of us got in trouble for anything, we would all get our asses beat and have to stand in the freaking corner for like all day. Right, and it would be like for no reason, man. I mean, Missy's over there doing something. We'll get in trouble. We all have to come in and get beat for it. And to this day, man, it's like just looking at tomato soup, man. It makes me want to vomit. God, that stuff is nasty to me. And it's because she made me eat it.
With a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah, and see, everybody says that, and I'm just like, you know what? I wouldn't want it any damn way. I would rather take a bullet.
Well, darn Katt. Well, it's good to see you back on.
Well, I never left.
Well, I mean,
it's Tuesday at 6. This is my show, man.
I sent you a message checking on you because you know, but I'm real sorry about that.
You know what? She was old, and if I take this back, if people remember when I was talking about the investigator that came out, she is the aunt that I had that lived in Carroll County or Howard County. And when my stepmom told me that they was like wanting to talk to you about your aunt, I'm like, Howard County investigator wants to talk to me about my aunt? I'm like, man, she's like in her 80s and in a wheelchair. I'm positive that they, you know, like, well, what kind of crime would she be breaking? And when he showed up, I'm like, well, what do you want to know about my aunt? It's like, I don't want to know about your aunt. And I'm like, that's what my stepmom said. You want to talk to me about my aunt? No, it's about the murders, Delphi murders. And I'm like, look at me. It's like, look at me, dude. Blue eyes. I mean, like, do I look like him at all? Do I? I mean, upon seeing me, you should have said, got the wrong house. Bye-bye. That should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I only talked to him briefly. He asked me some questions. I told him the answer. He says, well, we can't clear you without a DNA sample. And I says, well, good luck, because I sure enough fucking giving you that. He says, well, they still might want it. And I says, well, if they find a judge dumb enough to sign on to get it, tell them I'll own their ass. All right, peace. Never heard from them again. But that was that aunt. Now, here's the thing, man, because she was, man, her dad, well, I can give her dad's name was Frank Bruno. And, he had, I think, the first Italian restaurant in Kokomo, Indiana. And I think that was followed by Martino's, if Martino's wasn't at the same time when he started it. But she was brutal. She really was. And I mean that. She probably took pride in how she did things, man. And, she would throw the first object that was near her at you. She would beat you with a fly swatter. You'd make you pick your switch. She just, anything, man. She did. I don't know how to put it, man. The woman was not good with kids when we was there. Then after her kids have kids, then they come over and she treats them like the innocent little babies. Loves them so much. And I'm like, yeah, not when we was growing up. That ain't the way it was. In fact, man, we figured she was still alive because the Reaper, man, probably feared her a little bit. She had that kind of a streak to her, Good lady. I mean, I always got along with her. I mean, it wasn't like that. But, man, when I was little, I always reminded her about the tomato soup. I said, you made me hate that. You made me hate it, man. Now, when I was out in Vegas, man, my old lady at that time, she's like, well, you like tomatoes, don't you? I'm like, yeah, love them. Well, maybe you should try tomato soup again. Maybe you'll like it now. And I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. She got so mad. I was like, oh, almost vomited, man. I mean, it still had that ugliness to it. And it was from choking it down so many times, literally gagging on it, like every day for 3 years. That was harsh, man. Not as bad as she was, though, because, I mean, like, you either ate that tomato soup or you was going to be beaten to a corner and stand there until your grandma and grandpa got here. But one way to the other. And you knew she meant it.
I don't know.
Oh, I do. My memories are vivid of it. Very vivid.
Well, I'll let you go so society can call in.
Okay. Thanks for calling in. And
all right.
I will talk to you soon.
Katt.
Peace.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, incognito. That number again is, hang on. Right there. The old ring-a-ding. She's probably cooking dinner. Yeah, see, everybody says that, Bev. Everybody does, man. Everybody's on the same page with tomato soup and a grilled cheese. Me? No. Grilled cheese? Yes, phenomenal. Tomato soup? No. I'd rather drink vomit. I'm a better man for it. Call in. Hurry. Do it. Because now I'm just sitting here, man. This could be her. It is. Yo.
Hey.
There you are. How you doing?
All right. How are you doing?
Man, you know me. I'm doing.
Yeah. Just heard about your week. Listening to that. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it didn't stop. It was like every day there was something new. Every single day, man. And it just kept going. And it just kept getting worse. And there was never a time that I was off the phone or like any time to go do and like create a video, not even make a story as to why the video wasn't done. Nothing. So, I mean, last night I was like, okay, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going on and I'm just winging it. That's what I'm doing. I'm just throwing out them and I'm just flying along. So thanks for the call. Thanks for calling in. You've really helped me out here. Kind of owe you.
We love it. You're consistent every week, and we talk about whatever.
Well, we try to keep it to Delphi, but there's a lot of other things that fall into place there as well. With other murders that I feel that he, had conspired to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure.
So,
you hear about your aunt, so I am sorry about that.
Well, yeah, as was I. I mean, really, when I was little, it wasn't like I didn't like the lady, but it was just that she was just mean, man. She was mean. That's all it amounted to, man. She was mean. She took no crap.
It made you a better man.
Her sister even had said that and kept her kid away from her. For real.
Thanks.
Hey, Stroop, how you doing? See, people still remember my last name, even though I changed it.
But did you already have the funeral and everything for her?
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But I had to go into town, family. I mean, all her kids are the ones that I grew up with as my my cousins. You see where I'm at?
Yeah.
Is like her oldest boy, Butch, and he died actually, what's that been? That's probably been 2 years ago. But he was an alcoholic, and it really ran in that family and mine as far as I go with that. I mean, alcohol, man, when I touched it, it was fine for so many years. Maybe a hangover or whatever. Didn't need any alcohol the next day. Then one day in 88, bam, there it was. And it took me a while to realize that I was an alcoholic. I thought man, I'm nervous as shit, Yeah. But then after a while, I was like, oh, I see. I see what this is now. And it was at that time, I'm like, well, I guess my life has kind of changed because I'm out of here. I'm going to go hitchhike, with my money, and I'm just going to go see America. And off I went for about 12 years, just hitchhiking, hitting the rails, just going to see in America. No dog, no puppy, just me. Hard times. But, alcoholism ruined my life. It really did. There were so many things that I was set to do in life that I did not get done because of it. And alcoholism is no joke. If you are physically addicted to alcohol, remember this, you can stop. It's hard, but you got to come to the conclusion, as I did, that this shit owns me. It owns me. There is no getting away from it. And every time it's going to lead me right back to the same spot of detox, where I'm going to have to sit there without money, shaking, shivering, and just being fearful of leaving the house. That's what it turned me into for 12 years. And like I said, that's why I didn't want to be around people. I wanted to be out on the road away from people, a place where I could just go be, and not have to worry about it.
Right.
Still felt that, but the point was I didn't have anybody talking. I didn't have noise because I wouldn't be able to sleep for about bigger part of 3 days. Yeah, hard times. But that's
my uncle wasn't.
The what?
I said my uncle was an alcoholic. It was hard to watch. Yeah.
Now, I had an uncle when I was growing up, which, it was kind of funny the way my mom put it because his name was Paul, and she called him Paulaholic. And, whenever he'd always go over to my Aunt Joe's house, and there he would say, he'd be there all the time, and he'd have a bottle of Kessler's right beside him. Kessler's whiskey. That was his go-to.
Yeah, when my uncle came up from Florida to visit, he would always put his beer in a Coke can.
Just quit. Just don't go back. I was talking to Rhonda. Yeah, because, if you're an alcoholic, it is, man. It's very hard to quit because you go through that detox. And when you're detoxing like that, it feels like you're going to die. That like anything. You just got your anxiety is so high that it feels like if I don't get alcohol, I'll die. Yeah, Kessler's and 7-Up. Man, I was never a Kessler's fan. Actually, man, my drink of choice was Chivas Regal. Love Chivas. But then down the road, as times got harder, I had to go toward Mad Dog. You know, there's a reason why they call him a wino. Do what?
Is it a whiskey?
What, Mad Dog?
Yeah.
No, it's a 20% wine, $3 a bottle.
Oh, okay.
It's the cheapest alcohol that you can buy is Mad Dog 2020, to my knowledge.
Nice.
So anyway, go on. Now, you made a video concerning Sam Lowell. Talk about him.
Yeah, it was just this past Friday that Allen County, which is Fort Wayne area,
Yeah.
the county Fort Wayne sits in it, has finally confirmed that what Sam Little told a Texas Ranger in 2018 is in fact the truth, that two ladies that were killed on the same night in Fort Wayne were by his hands, by strangulation.
Okay.
Yeah. He picked them up at different times. He strangled them.
Now, was there anything else to that?
Not that I found, but I'm wondering if there wasn't some, like were they prostitutes or anything like that. But I can't find anything on these ladies. They were never on the Indiana cold cases, and I'm thinking this is almost a 40-year-old case. Why wasn't it on there?
Yeah, really. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, but it's kind of odd because, as I've said anyway, I mean, like people just don't like wake up one day and say, hey, I'm just going to go kill two girls, just for the sake of just going and killing two girls. There's usually a differing motive that's involved in that,
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was wondering if there was any like sexual assault involved with them, if they had DNA or anything like that.
I'm guessing that wasn't released yet. So
Okay.
I probably have to dig a little deeper, see if I can find more of what he said in 2018. But as far as what Allen County has released, they haven't released that part.
Huh. Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, if you kill a prostitute, it's normally not just to strangle somebody. Again, kind of go back to that there is an outer motive that's involved.
Yeah, and I think in other cases that he's done around the country, I mean, he's killed over 90-some women that they were sexually assaulted. And, I don't want to call these two ladies prostitutes, and they're not these, so I don't want to disgrace their names by any means. But one was 18 and one was 31. Don't know what time of night or day they were picked up. So I really can't correlate that. But how else maybe that they would, I guess they could have kidnapped them, but they didn't say that, so.
Well, you would assume being a prostitute that's the way that it would be.
Yeah.
If they were, I'm saying. So,
Exactly.
I mean, like they get in your vehicle, you drive elsewhere, man, commit the crime, bam, done. Who's going to miss them right away? Nobody. Is it going to be spoken of? Probably not. But when they find them, provided they find them, like that, then there you go.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder also since their names weren't on the Indiana cold case, if they didn't just chalk it up as another prostitute then.
Yeah.
That's sad, but I wonder.
Now, with that, I was looking into some cases that was done in East St. Louis, and I believe that's in Illinois. And they had an area, or you know what, I'm seeing again, I'm not looking at the article right now, but they found 6 different women, and they were in a very similar area, and their causes of death were pretty much all alike. Now, in this article, they said it looked like the involvement of a serial killer, right? Now, these happen at approximately the same time as Thomas Bruce went from Flint, Michigan down to St. Louis. And I thought, well, opportunity killer, what would be opportunity? How would you go do that in St. Louis or around St. Louis? Prostitutes. Because his biggest thing there is humiliating them, brutal assault, and then kill them and dump the body. So it just, while it seemed likely, there was nothing else that I could put to that. Aside of the fact that, well, this guy is a serial killer. This was done where he was living. They were prostitutes, and they had that road, and I forget what it is they called it. but it was like almost an abandoned road where when you picked the prostitutes up, you could go there. Well, that's where the bodies were dumped. Now, I don't think any of these women's neck were cut, but that's because he was inside of his car at the time. You see where I'm at?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying if, provided that he did, but there is no way to show that. You know, they didn't say like, well, we got DNA or this and that. They were prostitutes. It was kind of like, well, another prostitute died. You know, just like one of those things. But still, the way that the bodies were found and how they were found, where they were found, they felt that a serial killer had did that.
Wow. And you said that fell into the same time frame that
Well,
he moved down there.
Yeah, from the time he left Flint, Michigan to the time that he arrived living down in, well, at that time he was living in Jackson County, which is down by, I think, Cape Girardeau. But, you know, it's like, well, where would you go there for an opportunity? You see where I'm at? Like, how would you go do that? Well, in that area, I mean, the best place to go would be an area where there's prostitutes. And for some reason, man, I don't think that he wanted to kill so much in Missouri because they are a death penalty state. And, you know, that's kind of probably a good reason he went over into Illinois.
Ah. Okay. I think...
Sleuthing.
What was that?
I said it's called sleuthing.
Yeah, that's good. That's... Did you hear Colorado is doing away or did away with the...
Yeah.
That
I don't know. There's just so much wrong with that. There are people that need to die. There are. Yep. You know, and like I say, man, I mean, there's some people out there on the crimes that they commit, when they go to court, when they are found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, take them out back, man. You got till tomorrow and you're going to hang by your neck. There it is, until you're no longer alive, publicly. But then again, I ain't the guy that makes the rules. If I was, though, it'd go right back to the cowboy days. I'll guarantee you that shit.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, common law, and you're going to die tomorrow. Get your shit planned. Because at noon tomorrow, you hang.
That's what we need. That would bring a lot of this crap to a close for sure.
You know what? I got a quick story. In Kokomo, Indiana, you know where that's at?
Yes.
Now, this is back in the 1800s, and I forget the year, but it was like somewhere around in the 1860s. You can look it up if you look up Howard County, Indiana history. Mm-hmm. Two guys had stolen two horses from down in Indianapolis, and it was telegraphed out the colors of the horses, right? Well, they made it to Kokomo and took them to the livery to sell them, I guess. And the guy had seen on the wire the color of the two horses, so he contacted the sheriff. Well, the sheriff and the deputy came over to arrest them, to see if it was the same two horses. And once the guys realized this, man, the guys drew guns and started firing at him, right? Well, the only person that was hit was the coroner, that was across the street, and he died, right? And it was the two guys. So they took him to jail, and I mean, right at that time, man, everybody in town started building the old, where they hang you at, the gallows, and that was it. And I mean, the guy was like when you read it, he was like, well, I know what you guys are going to do, so let's just get on with it. And he was very apologetic, like the whole way, actually helping them with the gallows kind of thing, I thought, man, that's just weird, and they hang him. There it was. That's an old history there, man.
Nowadays, but
thanks, Jerry.
So much different.
Appreciate it. Everybody likes what Jerry has to say, including me. Oh, I was talking to somebody in chat.
Yeah, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry. Jerry.
Hey, somebody's
all said and done, Thomas Bruce is going to be, I think he has more than Sam Little.
Really?
All said and done. I really, it's just a gut feeling. I don't have any proof.
Man, I can look at the ones that I'm pretty clear on that he did. But, and again, I said, I think we're scratching the surface. But man, 80-some, that's a lot of people to kill. That is a lot of people to kill and get away with.
It's just a hunch, but...
Well, no, I'll give it to you. But, I mean, I don't know to the extent that it goes. It could go over that. I mean, for as far as I know, I mean, because there's a lot of years that, especially in California, if you try to look up cold cases out there, it's damn near impossible because they just don't give you anything. They really don't.
I don't think he's going to be the type of person that is going to tell much on himself. It's going to be more of a cat and mouse game, like, well, try to catch me. Try to find which one. You know, maybe I'll admit to one or two, but I'm not going to admit to everything I've done.
Well, yes and no. Because in most all of them, I mean, they had DNA and fingerprints. The two in Michigan, they had fingerprints and DNA in both, and they had no killer. They had nobody they could point a finger at. So when you look at it like that, then, you know, it's like he knew that his DNA and fingerprints weren't in the database. Carry on with the game. But if they have the DNA and fingerprints, well, it's all going right back to him, man. I called Sheriff Swanson, and I mean, like, you know, that was one of the things I was discussing with him was in the paper, it says that DNA and fingerprints were left like in differing cases, but it did not put them together. You know what I'm saying? They didn't ever come out and say, this is the same guy that did both because, man, that's a small town. I mean, if you look at Lennon and Montrose, they're like the size of Burlington, Indiana, man, like population 500 to 600 people. One bar in each town. So to actually point that out, man, that within, see, what was that, 77 and 99, in 2 years, 2 women were brutally attacked and murdered. That means somebody locally there is doing this. And I don't think that they wanted to point that out. But you know what? He didn't tell me that. And I'm not saying he told me that, but that was something that I brought to his attention. And I can't...
proven yet that done by both.
Well, I mean, I can't give you his like reply or anything because that was something that was, you know, a personal type conversation. But I was just calling that in on Mary Pryor.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Whew. But the fact that he is, what, 54, 55 years old?
54.
If he started at 18-ish, let's say.
Oh, you know what? I mean, if you take Susan Collins in, right about that age, 18, 19.
Yeah.
And that was brutal. And like I said, if Barry Scheck's right, and he was at that base at the time, they killed the wrong man. They did, man.
Yep.
They totally killed the wrong man.
And I mean, if that was like a first kill or the first, you know, one of his first, that is pretty brutal. He didn't escalate over time. He was right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate, exactly. Now, you know what? This brings up kind of a point that I want to make. If you take it back that far, that when he was that age is when it began. And all of this was very brutal, man. I mean, very brutal. Mm-hmm. Now, through that time, he was a Christian pastor. Now, what if he was playing a different side of that ballpark the whole time? You see where I'm at? What if he was more to a Satanist, playing the good guy, but then when opportunity rose when he was drinking, there it was. And he would go for that every single time. Very brutal, very monstrous, very demonic. Now, I could not place anybody to do that was a Christian pastor.
No.
So it makes me wonder about, like, you know, his more inner motive as to what he was doing.
Yeah, I've thought about his religion. He's Protestant, right? Which I know some Protestants have a real hatred, if you will, towards Catholics. So he's Protestant in religion, right?
Oh, you know what? You're asking, and I never really looked into it. I mean, I know he was down there, and I had even seen the church name quite a few times, but I don't really remember the name of the church. Somebody out there does, though. If you know the church that he was involved with down in Cape Girardeau, type it and place it in the chat. Would love to see that. Because if it was Protestant, yeah, that would give reason for.
Yeah, God rest her soul, my great aunt was Pentecostal, and I didn't, at a young age, didn't know the difference between religions at that time, obviously. But she never said she hated people, obviously, but boy, she did not like Catholics. Just, oof, it would send her in a frenzy talking about stuff like that. And I think people take that stuff to the extreme. In his case, I think he did. He became kind of a Satanistic person to take out their judgment or a judgment on them.
If I was to point to Evansdale, and I do believe that was his, I really, really do, and that was done on Friday the 13th. Now, 13, if you see my point, Friday the 13th. Two girls. Now,
right.
Think about this, man. Two young girls. What would a person in his frame of mind, of where I think that he was at, Calvary Baptist, Costa Mesa, California. Well, I don't. Is that the same one that was down in Cape Girardeau, Sue? My dad's a Baptist.
Yeah, I'm Baptist, and I mean it's the closest thing to.
The closest thing to a Baptist?
Well, I don't really have a denomination, you know what I mean? I guess if I had to say in theory what I believe, that would be according to the Baptist theory. But I don't go around saying I'm a Baptist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm a Buddhist, but I'm a lay Buddhist. I mean, I believe in what Buddha said. I think that it was even philosophers look at it and be like, there it is. So I mean, I could look at that, and when I read it, I'm like, man, nothing comes closer to truth than that. But at the same time, I mean, Buddhism doesn't have like a set God. You see where I'm at? He said there is a God, but God doesn't come down here and talk to us. God's never showed up and said, hi, I'm God. But there is a grand creator. But they don't have like a God. So it's not really a religion. It's more of a philosophy of life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that's more where I stand, more than a Christian or any other Islam, Judaism, Hindu, anything like that. I more or less look at Buddha as kind of having a pretty grand answer. But it's not, I wouldn't become a monk over it, okay?
Okay. I understand.
Yeah. Well, there it is, though. Now you know. Yep. Peace, Bev. Thanks for being here.
Now, when Sam Little, he's 79 years old, and he can remember all of his kills. I wonder if he's going to be the same, or if when he's in his drunk mode, because from my understanding, Little wasn't ever in a different state of mind. He was just straight up killer, didn't need alcohol. That's my understanding. So if Bruce needed alcohol to kill, is he going to remember half of his victims?
Well, there's a difference. And I can say from being an alcoholic, if you're not an alcoholic and you need X amount of alcohol to acquire that courage to then go forth with it, well, Buddha can't save. But what does that mean? That means, see, that's a Christian philosophy. That's all that is. What you're saying is only Jesus can save. I don't know. I don't believe there was a Jesus. I don't think out of this entire universe that God threw Satan here to mess with our stupid asses. Just us, nobody else in the entire endless universe. I want you guys to think about that. Because Christianity, Judaism, all that, man, it's earthly religion. That's what it is. It comes from earth. That's ancient people's idea of what God was and what God did and so forth and so on in the other direction. And besides that, when I look at Christianity, I think that was made by the Romans. It was completely manufactured by the Romans because they had just took over Jerusalem, and they wanted the Jews to get over the fact that on their religion, because they would not with the Romans. So that's why they made that. And they were like, but your Messiah was here. You see, right here he was, right here. And he had like the weirdest names of his disciples, like Matthew and Luke and John. And I'm like, where in the hell did they get those names, man? From England or something? I'm like, I don't know anybody over there at that time living with names like Matthew, Luke, and John. And, what? My backside. Peter. Yeah, wasn't anybody with a like Middle Eastern name. Cracks me up a little bit. But they did that to show, look, man, your Messiah's already come, man. Why don't you believe in him? And to this day, they're like, yeah, man, look, man, our Messiah was, God told us that he was going to do this, not that. That's why we don't believe it. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Look, if I'm upsetting anybody on my views, I don't really take them back, but we really should be concerning ourselves more toward crime. That is what the show concerned.
Yeah, and I had asked about if Bruce was, if he's going to remember half of his victims.
Well, and that's what I was kind of pointing out, that there's a difference between getting to that area where your courage builds, because you're still there mentally. You might be a little dulled down a little bit, but you would still remember everything quite well, the next day. Now, if he got out there and was like staggering drunk, like that, then it probably would have played a little different. But I don't think that he was like that. I mean, if he was to that drunken level, I think that many would have got away from him.
Yeah. I am thankful that all of Sam Little's victims' families are going to have some sort of closure, at least, that he can, at 79 years old, go back and at least say, in this town, in that town, this is what I did, and they can have some sort of closure there. But I don't know if like you said, only fingerprints and DNA is probably going to be able to reveal some of Bruce's, because I just don't think he's going to be willing to give up anything.
If they got his fingerprints and DNA, there it is.
Yeah.
And they know that he was living in Flint. So, I mean, kind of case closed. Now, I think in the bigger part of these where they do have like DNA and fingerprints, I think that once that came back with the FBI, once they got his DNA and they had his fingerprints from the Catholic supply store sexual assault and homicide, they could trace those right back immediately to those crimes and get a hold of law enforcement and say, you guys need to get your case together because this is the guy you need to talk to. Now, I think that that's what was done right there. In every case where they got DNA and fingerprints, they were contacted to get their case together because they got to wait till this case ends. And why do they have to wait till this case ends? Because if they filed charges right now, he would demand a speedy trial and he'd get over on it. Because there would be no way they could extradite him while he was in his current case. And that's why we wait. Right there.
Yeah. And I hope in every small town, because I don't know if he's been to a lot of big towns, but just in what we think we know, so far it's been small towns. I hope every small town sheriff or police have done all that they needed to do as far as DNA and fingerprints, because not everyone has. I think that's why these cases don't get solved, is because they didn't do their job.
Well, if he didn't have DNA and fingerprints in the file, though, I mean, where do you go with it? I mean, if nobody saw it.
True. I mean, like in the 80s, they probably didn't do fingerprints and take DNA in every single small town across the USA.
Well, fingerprints they would have.
Okay.
But even,
what about DNA?
Well, even with DNA, now some of it you can. And I'm trying to think of some that they went back on because it was quite old, but they did have DNA. If you look at the Golden State Killer,
mm-hmm.
but they still had DNA. So, I mean, there are some of them where they have DNA, and I don't know why they kept the DNA, but I'm sure that they felt in time that they could solve stuff with DNA, from a scientific angle. So that might be why that they had kept it.
Yeah, sometimes California seems to be a little bit more ahead.
Hang on.
The rest of the country is.
1 second. Yeah, but Alaska Blue, I'm not downing people that believe in Christianity. Look, man, people out there believe that there's giant boulders that created everything. Some people think the earth sits on top of a turtle. It goes around the world like that. It really does. And I'm not like demeaning people that believe in Jesus. My point is that just me. I mean, I look at it a little different is all. That's all I was doing, man. That's all I was making too, was my belief, not everybody else's. So don't.
And I apologize for bringing up the religion. I was bringing it up based on
Yeah, right.
For the case itself. So, we all don't have to agree to be able to have a conversation. So.
Yeah, and if you look at any denomination of Christianity, they believe in Jesus. There it is. I mean, even the Catholics, man, is Jesus. I mean, all Christian religion is Jesus, or I mean, Jesus saves, and there it is.
I'm really taking a deeper dive into the religious cults, especially the Latter-day Saints, just because of this Lori Vallow Daybell thing. And man, it's blowing your mind.
You know what? I brought that up with Howard Hughes. Was you watching that show?
When was that?
Not all that long back, but he lived alone in a room. The people that went in there could not look at him. They would have to do so many things to make a sandwich, and have it in so many Kleenex and everything to bring it in. They couldn't look at him, and they would set it down so that he could eat it. Couldn't look at him. Now, all these people that worked for him were all Latter-day Saints. All of them, every single one.
What is up with that religion? Because it's kind of like a religion within a religion.
It is. And it's really stupid. I don't want to be that guy to say it, but come on, man. People, look, the Mormons, they're straight out there. They're out their minds, in my opinion. And hey, you know what? If you're a Latter-day Saint, I'm sorry, man, if that hurts your feelings, but what do you want from me? I ain't the one playing the dumb religion. It ain't me.
It's definitely strange. I don't know what to think of some of the cult-like things that surround that.
What was that one guy's name? That I think they arrested him in Vegas. He had all those wives, and he had kind of his little offset cult thing. You know what? Who I'm talking about?
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh.
I forget his name, but when you look at him, you go, "Yeah, he did it."
that was him. He had wives that were 15 years old, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Gosh, I can't think of his name for nothing now. Dang it.
Right, same way. But yeah, it falls right into play with what you was getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And they got these Latter-day Saint communities, and the women are like, "Holy shit, are we screwed? We have no way out, man. This is like Jonestown."
Hey, have you ever heard of out in Yellowstone? This is kind of pertaining to the same, but maybe not. And I keep hearing about this death zone.
Death zone?
Where you can go out there and kill somebody, and you may never have to answer for your crime.
How in the hell is that?
I don't know, but I keep hearing about it. Look it up sometime if you have a moment. I know it's been crazy, but
well, I do now. Now, I mean, not right now, but in a while I will. I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly called the death zone. It may have a couple more words in there, but it's something about you're just kind of immune to the United States laws.
Well, yeah, that's what I was assuming. That's exactly what I was assuming. But where would that be? I mean, even if you was on, well, you know what? I mean, it could be a part of a Indian reservation, man, where they're under treaty constitutional. But even constitutional law, that would exceed common law by killing somebody. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That would have to be a weird area, and I will check into it, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm I don't know if they make it up in their own mind that they are immune to the United States laws, or if that's an actual fact, or if this is a whole made-up thing and incorporated into the doomsdayers. I don't know. So, trying to look into that more. Well, I will let you go. I've got to do a few things around here before bedtime. So, good talking to you.
Hey, it was nice of you to call in. You know what you got to do?
What?
A live show.
My own live?
Yeah, man. Okay, see what I'm using, StreamYard, right?
Yeah.
All you got to do is throw up a picture of your avatar, and there you go, live show.
I know a lot of people have asked me to.
Yep. Well, you know what? I would definitely call in. I
That
would
would be
most
awesome.
definitely call in.
I'll have to figure that out.
You know what? Reach me sometime. I'll go over it with you, you know?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Yep. I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, it was nice talking to you, and you have a nice evening.
You too. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay, whoever was calling in before, do it now, or I swear I'll ramble. I will. Are you calling me a liar? Me? A liar? I'll ramble, people. I'll never forget this one day. You see, that's how I normally start my rambling. Yeah, but if whoever was calling in when she was on there and I didn't answer, if you could give a call back, right there is the no. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Man, see, and I got to do this like completely. Where in the hell? Okay, right there is the number, right over there. God, it's like so reverse and shit. Yeah, see? Sue says she'll call too, man. And you know what? Did anybody see Double Ants? He changed his name, but he said he would be on tonight. If I seen the name, I'd know who it was. But anyways, I could wrap this up at 8 o'clock. I will take another phone call if somebody wants to call. If not, man, it's going to be 5 minutes of me just sitting here rambling. Just talking straight shit. Just mad action, man, totally. Oh, yeah. Okay, man. Well, here I go rambling. Now, you see, because I want to keep it on the crime. You know, I don't really want to deviate off that into other things because it does bother people. And look, if I was watching somebody and they was talking about something that I believed in, man, I would be a little upset. And I really was not trying to do that. You know, I wasn't trying to attack people that believe in Christianity. My dad's a preacher. He preaches. He didn't raise me. He wasn't a preacher then anyway, but he is now. You know what? He sent it to me on Facebook, and I forget what it was, but he said he changed his name, and I think it had to do with the password or something like that on his YouTube, and he couldn't remember it, so he changed the name or something like that. But he said that he would probably be on tonight. So I've been waiting, Double Ants. Yeah, I was, but I don't like to do it on video. There's some things I do on video, mainly my show. You know, also good pictures of the woods. My trail cam broke, man. I guess that sucks. I missed the trail cam. I knew every animal here by name. I did. All right. Well, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, watch me sit here. That's how we'll do it, man. Oh, Rhonda, call in. The number's right there. Right there. Can't miss it. They didn't lie, Lisa. They did not lie. They never lied. You see, it goes like this, man. Thomas Bruce did it. They know he did it, okay? But they know that they can't file charges until after that case is done. So until they talk to him, speak to him directly and interrogate him concerning, that would end their investigation. Then they could press charges. To say right now, yeah, we know who did it. Who? Well, we can't say right now. We don't want you to know. That would be lying. But to not complete the investigation and then say, well, we didn't know till we could talk to him, that's not lying. Now, everybody takes it as that. Well, then they're lying. No, they're not lying. They never got to talk to him. They got to talk to everybody else, but not him. And until they can go down and talk to him, the investigation is not over, nor in that meantime could they file charges. So, yes, they're playing it along, and they're playing it well, and they're playing it righteously because they want to nail his ass. That is what they're doing. And everybody asks that same question every week. Every week people say that. Every single week, man, people are like, well, you're saying law enforcement's lying. Well, I've already at this time, I've heard them lie 3 times that I can point blank show you. And you go, yeah, I guess that was a lie. But yeah, they're not lying about who did it because they have not completed their investigation. Wait a minute. This might be somebody. Oh, it is. Hey.
Hey, Miss Cavalier again.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? I knew it was you. I seen the
call
number.
a little bit earlier, and I'll tell you what, my finger slipped, and I wound up on an 800 number with a telemarketer that wants to give me $150,000 in government grants.
Woo! Hell yeah.
Well, I gave him your name.
You what?
I gave him your name.
Michael Katt?
Yeah, your phone number. I was doing okay until I needed an address.
Oh, you should have used mine.
Well, I don't know yours, but they have your name and your phone number.
Okay, cool. Hey, you know what? I'll record it when they call.
Well, and it's $150,000, so that's a lot of money.
Well, I agree, but in grants.
Well, it's government grants. If it really comes through, take it, cash the checks.
Will do.
Okay, my question is, we know that from family DNA it can range from a couple of months to a couple of years.
Why would it take a couple of years?
There is one case out in California that the woman was a genetic researchist, or I can't remember what C.C. Moore. It's a much nicer name that she calls it. But she's been doing this as a hobby for a long time, and then she turned it into a profession. And I really admire that woman because she's doing work that is impossible for law enforcement to accomplish until I think she showed them how to do it. Either that or Parabon did, and I'm not certain which one. But this is, I think, revolutionized law enforcement's unsolved cold cases almost as much as DNA did.
Yeah.
What's your opinion? Okay.
Well, I know that C.C. Moore in the DNA detectives, they got software that will find the family name. Now, like I said, that will take it so far, but once it goes so far, then it starts going into like, all the different ones right there with like some of those traits. So then they got to manually break it down. Now, that's the way she explained it, that the software will break it down to a point, but then from there, you got to draw the rest of the family tree on down. And that's how they got John D. Miller. Now, that was less than 2 months because she was put on it in May and they arrested him in July. So, and that was also including the time of getting his DNA. And then, then they had to like get that checked, and that takes a while for it to come back and then go get the arrest. So really, man, getting him took her less than 2 months. Probably, I'm going to say like a month, maybe a month and a half at the longest. But 2 years. Now, if you was talking about somebody who did it more manually, by doing that. But I mean, they would have to have some kind of software to make the comparison back to, but that would take longer to just draw it out all manually like that, more so than having the software. The software is the incredible link right there. That's what makes it a little bit more easy, but she's got the brains and the know-how to then involve the family tree right on down to where it goes.
Well, I'm wondering something. If DNA, let's just agree for this question that it could take up to 2 years.
Yeah.
To complete for whatever reason. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if anybody who's listening might know, and this may be an incognito question, I don't know.
Okay.
What other test or procedure that they might use that would take as much as a year. If there's something new out there, if they're trying to come up with a better description, like another drawing that they've previously released too. My God, what would happen if they released another one?
What, another sketch?
Another sketch.
Yeah, man. You know what? I don't think that they would want to do that. I think the second one made him look kind of silly. To me, it did. I mean, nobody's seen the suspect without a hat on. Why, why would they draw him without a hat on? Why would they give the top part of his hair like that when they had no idea what the top of his head looked like? They made him look younger. Huh?
Just maybe, Katt.
Yeah.
They have one or more hairs.
Could be. But
I mean, I'm trying to understand why they wouldn't go down and arrest him for the fun of it.
And arrest who?
Thomas Bruce. And I understand that he has to face those charges. But I don't think I think he could request a speedy trial if he hasn't waived that down in St. Louis.
Oh, no,
but I don't think
he
he'd be
didn't.
able to waive Delphi.
Well, right, but the thing is once that case is complete and they talk to him, then they can extradite, period. There it is. Now, they did that to a lady that was living in Ohio, and I think it was her boyfriend at the time, came to Indiana and killed somebody and went back. And when they got him on that, they brought him back and facing the death penalty. She got the death penalty, and then they extradited her back to kill her. True story. Yeah.
Well, I'll find this California case where the woman, I think it was a younger woman that was murdered, and it took well over 2 years to track that family DNA down. And I had the impression it was a small company. And Parabon is pretty significant. I think they are the absolute top of the pile as far as genetic DNA, and I do believe that they've produced a couple of sketches based on DNA and characteristics of what somebody should look like.
Yeah, they have.
But I don't think.
I know they have.
Be at that now.
Do what?
With Thomas Bruce.
Well,
but
go ahead.
Something has got. They are taking advantage of this time. They don't have to go down and talk to Thomas Bruce until his trial is over because they know where he's at.
Yeah.
Not getting out. The only thing he might do is commit suicide. That would be too bad.
I don't think that they would allow for that. I think that
I hope not.
Until the time, because look, man, you got the FBI that knows the goods. They know the crimes he's committed, and they're not going to have him placed in an area where he could kill himself. So I think that they're really going to hold that until the other places can get him there and try him. Now, I don't think that he's going to be tried on every case, but he's definitely going. The ones that hit the news, Mary Pryor, Ann Pates, definitely Delphi. Now, I wouldn't know as much on Evansdale because there was nobody that seen him. The only thing that they got there is the make of the car that was used. They don't have DNA, fingerprints, anything like that, but they do have kind of a model of car. And I told Officer Weber when I called him, man, said, you need to check DMV records, man, see what cars he owned at that time. Nah, if I could reach through the phone, man, if I could just reach through a phone, man, the charges I'd have, people. Oh, the charges I'd be receiving.
Probably a good old boy sheriff.
Yeah, Black Hawk County. Yeah, well, he isn't actually a sheriff, man. He was just heading the investigation on the Evansdale murders. He was the main dude.
Oh.
But yeah, he wasn't the sheriff. But I don't know, man. He just acted like some peasantry telling him what he should do. I don't know, man. I just didn't get a good vibe from him. I want to call him back just so I can be a dick. That's how I am, man. It's like, look, man, do you or do you not want this case solved? Because that is what I'm trying to do here, sir. Do you or do you not understand that? That's how you got to be with these people. Because believe me, and look me right in the eye here, they're your servants. They're not your masters. They are your employees. They are there to protect and serve you, not use you as county revenue, which is what they do now. So, I mean, like I said, man, there ain't no good cop. There might be a cop that's a good guy, but man, what he's doing is still treasonous. Arresting the person with a, like on the victimless crime. Man, what the ever? That shit's evil. I tell any cop that. Each and every cop that.
Do you know if it was a normal thing to see people other than locals on the trail before these murders happened?
What do you mean? Like in Delphi?
Yeah. Yeah, like non-locals walking the trail.
Yeah, you know what? The one time when me and Greena went out there, and it was probably the second time we went back out there. When we was walking through, there was 3 younger men, and they were from Fort Wayne. And one kid, and you know what? I knew the name of the band at the time, but he had his guitar with him, an acoustic. And they was just sitting there, man. We went over, just listened to him, talked to him for a while. Really good people. Yeah, there's people that show up that know about the trail that don't live right there in Delphi, but I don't know to what extent.
Well, explain to me, because I wasn't real involved. Of course, I knew about the murders, but the first year, I'm going back and listening and learning a lot. But tell me what the confusion was about, or maybe you don't know. I don't know. I guess one of the family members said that there were 20 or more kids at the trailhead when she dropped the girls off.
Yeah.
Do you know how that all got confused and muddied up?
No, I don't. Not at all. But I did, when I heard that, I said, that's not true. It can't be. Because, look, man, and you'd have to go there. I mean, you really would. You'd have to stop at the trail to see how it's laid out. But if you're dropped off at that secondary entrance, it may be 50 feet back to the 501 trail. You know, and that's what they did. They went in that way and cut a left, heading down toward Monon High Bridge. So for her to drop them off right there and see 45 kids there, it's like, that can't be true. Because all 45 of those kids would have seen him walking out. And we know that that ain't true. And then she did come back off of that and go like, oh, well, maybe I was speaking about later on, you know, but I don't know, man. She's kind of giving out some crazy, wacky stuff. I think that it brought attention to her and her life. And I think in a lot of the times she wanted to say something that was above board and did. I think maybe a couple times, actually. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, that's what I'm looking at there.
And then the rumor mill just went crazy.
Yeah, well, rumor mills will. You know, I mean, like if you look on Facebook, everybody had like, you know how many people seen him? Like what, 2? No, God, no, man. Listen, logo. It was like, man, my backside, people. No, I didn't. There's not no 45 kids there when she arrived. There's no way. Hey, Blue Lamp, man. What? Oh, go ahead.
Are you waiting for me?
Yeah, now.
Okay. I didn't know, and I really try not to interrupt, and I really try not to step on, the last few words you're saying so people can understand what we're talking about. But I'm wondering if there's anything that they can do. I think they got the picture of the car from satellite. I'm pretty confident about that. Where do you think they got it?
Well, if they got it by satellite, they could have followed it by satellite.
You know, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I don't know how often those satellites go over and how much detail it would show. I know they're over there at least once a day. Every satellite covers the entire United States once a day, which is amazing to me. But why?
Man, it makes me afraid to go outside.
Why do you think they got it?
You know what? Because they didn't give a make or model, but they said that, people have reported that there was a car parked at the abandoned CPS building that was there from approximately 12 up to about 5. Well, now I disagree. If it was the suspect's vehicle, it would have left at 3. When he got to his vehicle, he would have hauled out right then. And being seen at 10 minutes till 3 by flannel shirt guy, I'm sure when he got to his vehicle, that there it was. He was gone. I don't think he would have stuck around for any reason, because that would have just allowed other people to see him.
Well, that would make sense unless he was watching people from the woods. But by that time, the search had started, at least with family members.
Exactly. Yeah. And law enforcement was called at approximately, 5:30. That also was in the search.
Law enforcement probably would have had at least one car out there.
Yep.
And why risk getting caught?
Exactly.
After law enforcement came in. But I didn't think about the car in terms of a satellite picture. They could have tracked it. I'm wondering if they really could have, because if he stayed, let's say, for 3 hours, and that's an approximate figure, and that satellite went over at, 1 o'clock, got the picture, and wasn't due to come back until the next day, and there wasn't another satellite that came along, then they missed tracking it by satellite.
Well,
because they couldn't find it 24 hours later, or 12 hours later.
Here's the thing. I think that, if they know, say, as an example, my car, and they want to follow me, they could do that by satellite. Now, would they do that to an unknown car? No, because there was no suspicion upon that car. If they seen a car by satellite, and they would have got a good image of the top of it, but they wouldn't have got a license plate. You see where I'm at?
Right.
So, it depends. I mean, they could. Believe me, man, the United States government, man, has some technology that is exceeding. I mean, so much so, man, that they could follow you wherever you went. I mean, it works like that, man. They got the, what do they call that? The dark, where they build the top secret weapons and shit. Like the dark fund. Man, they got stuff up there that is just entirely beyond what we know. Now, if you're talking about stuff that we know, even that is still pretty amazing and technological, but nothing to the extent that they truly have.
Well, I think I was just searching my little brain here.
You got, you got a big brain.
Right.
I like your
brain.
Pardon me? I said, you got a big brain. I like it.
Well, do you remember when they were hunting Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into the politics of it.
We're not.
But do you remember when they had photos out in the middle of the desert and they thought it was, they identified the people standing there as being both their sons, I think. And that's how close the picture was, even though it wasn't real clear, in the news broadcast. But they could see enough to identify that person.
That was probably done by a drone.
I don't know. It seems like it was not. It seems like it was a specialized satellite. And if, in fact, they do have that technology, why wouldn't they be using it, on the the orbit that it was across Indiana and the Midwest?
Good question, but I don't know whether I don't know what they could do. You know, I mean, like I say, I was just throwing out that look, the stuff that they have is higher technology than what we know. You know, but could they do that? Would they do that? I don't know, because that is more military. You know, right there.
Definitely. It's kind of like the drones being over eastern Colorado.
Yeah, what happened with that?
What?
Whatever happened to that, man?
You know, all of a sudden, nothing.
Yeah.
The Colorado Department of Public Safety pulled out of the task force, and there has been nothing, nada about it. Nothing.
Yeah, I was looking into that after you sent that to me, and I thought, well, that's really weird, man. That's really odd. You know, well, I mean, why wouldn't they give a shit? You know, I mean, certainly they would be able to find out where it's going. I mean, you know, you got to have an instrument thing to send to and guide and so forth. So it seems like they could triangulate exactly where the people were running it from once they knew where it was.
Well, you know what concerns me is that these were not normal 1 or 2 foot drones. These drones, their main axles for their blades were 6 to 8 feet across. That's some serious money.
Yeah, it is.
And
it's a big
if
series.
You crashed one of those, I don't know why they didn't just go. And I know it's illegal to shoot at them, but I think law enforcement could do it.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I would, but like law enforcement, well, to what harm is the drone doing? You see where I'm at, man? You're shooting down somebody's drone that they paid a lot of money for. Why? You know, you see where I'm at? I mean, huh?
Because they're there.
Well, you don't shoot somebody's drone down because it's there. Man, somebody paid for it. I mean, it's not harming anybody, is my point. And for a cop just to shoot it down, I don't know, man. I mean, I wouldn't put myself into that. Because, hell, man, it could just be some people with money just playing around with the drone. I wouldn't want to have to pay for that drone.
38 drones. That's over $3 million worth. But my statement to you, it's not a question now. I happen to have a homestead in Alaska.
Yeah.
And if somebody's flying a drone over my house, it's going to get shot down.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay?
Yeah.
Legal or not, you know, I can bury it. I bought a backhoe for one reason, to dig holes to bury lawyers.
Oh, I thought you was going to say drones, man.
I can stick a drone right in beside any lawyer I bury.
Well, if any lawyers come up missing.
And I just, you know, I think that they stayed away from the Denver airport, and they were seen in Nebraska, and I think on the southeastern corner of Wyoming.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to call somebody and find out what's ever become of that. Because all of a sudden, in the last 3 months, there's been nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I was kind of into that when you told me about it. You sent me a message and I started looking into it. And I'm like, yeah, it's weird, man. And I mean, they were saying, yeah, these ain't your average little drones, man. We're talking about some big drones here. And there they would be, normally at night.
Yeah, always at night. Because you'd pick, and you know, who knows if they flew during the day or not. But they'd come out in a pattern and didn't try to hide from people. But that, like, eastern Colorado is not, it's all farmland and, you know, houses few and far between. So somebody'd have to be watching for them. But once law enforcement saw them, people started to pay attention. And then they just went away. And I'd almost have to think it was military.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I mean, once law enforcement gets involved, even if it was people that had money that was out there doing it, they would likely stop because then they would see that it was attracting a lot of attention. Somebody would probably shoot one down for one. Oh, yeah. Damn. You know what, bud, man? Hang on a second. But I'm sorry. You know what? Again, bad week, and I wanted to get that and put it up, and I apologize, but it will be up next week. Okay? Go ahead.
How do you recover from a bad week?
Well, I'll let you know once I recover. I think it's just going to take a little time.
Well, then let me ask you this. How did Wolfie do with the bad week?
Oh, he did fantastic. You know what? Well, I say that, but he's, I don't know. I got really worried last night about him. When we went to bed, it was his respiratory, and you could tell by the way that he was breathing that there was something wrong. And he's got this look like when he's scared or kind of panicked. You know what I mean? Like maybe even if he's like hurt, it's just this kind of like eyes like really open, but not, and I thought, well, man, something's kind of wrong. And so, I mean, I put him into bed and he kind of laid up there by me for a long while, but you know what? This morning he was a lot better. He still had a little bit of respiratory, and I don't know how to phrase it. It wasn't like it was the sound, but it was the way that he was breathing. You see where I'm at? And I mean, being close to 15 now, I mean, it kind of bothered me. But today he was a lot better. I gave him an added food. I bought him a big giant can of dog food. But anyway, I was a little concerned.
You might watch his sodium intake. And I had a dog that used to get fluid on his lungs, and it was kind of a raspy noise.
Yeah.
But not a regular raspy noise. And I had to put him on special dog food that had absolutely no sodium that would make him retain water. And after a while, I'd have to take him to the vet and have her draw off. I think the last time they drew it off, it was about a 2-liter container.
Wow.
And I walked out of the vet, and he always loved going there. But I know that that's hard on them because it's not something that you have every day, and it got to be every month. And I walked out and I said, no more, Rouge. We're not coming back here. And, he wound up passing right near me. And it was, I had him in my arms, and I knew it was the right thing to do because during that procedure, it was hurting him. And I just wasn't going to have it done again. But you might start out with watching his sodium. Some dog foods are high in sodium.
Yeah, plus I also give him pig.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but I decided not to.
Well, no. You know what? Really, like when I fry it, I could just, and I have before, like place a piece to the side. That way it doesn't have anything on it, like no salt, no herbs, spices, stuff like that added.
Yeah, and that might be something that you want to try.
Okay.
And then, do you guys have cranberries up there?
Yeah, I'm sure that we do. People that grow them, but I mean, not so much just wild cranberries.
Well, craisins, as long as there's no real raisins in them, what they do is just dehydrate cranberries, and one of those a couple of times a day.
Oh, yeah, okay. Got it.
Doesn't hurt. And if you know anybody with a patch, just go over and pick a bunch of them.
In the middle of the night?
No, they've got big long thistles on them, so you don't want to do that. But, you can get them and just stick them in your refrigerator or freezer, preferably, in a Ziploc bag, and they'd keep forever. And the dogs think they're a treat. I think I was telling you about feeding my dogs blueberries the other day.
Yeah. Yep.
And they love them.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second here. That is exactly, crap. That is exactly what I did, man. I gave him an aspirin last night when we went to bed because I seen that was happening, and I could sense the fact that he was in some amount of pain from it. So I did give him an aspirin. That was all I
Don't
had.
ever give him ibuprofen or naproxen or anything.
Oh, no. I got chewables.
Oh, you got the orange flavored ones?
No, I didn't get Bear. Actually, man, I could go get them. I got them at the dollar store, but they're the same as the Bear aspirin.
As long, and he takes them okay?
Well, I put him in something. He don't know he's eating them. I take a piece of the wet dog food that's got like the chunk, stick it in that, and I'll hand him one. He'll eat it, and I'll go, "Here's the bowl, though, man. Come on." Yeah. So yeah, do it like that.
Well, I'm really envious that he'll take them. I've got a dog who picks apart whatever you put them in, and he'll leave the aspirin in a place where I can't see it right away.
Well, yeah.
And then I find it, and I go find him, and I, put it at the back of his throat again, and hold his mouth closed until he licks his mouth, and that means he swallowed it. But he's just too darn aware of what's in his food. He'll pick it apart and make sure there's nothing, medicine-y or suspicious in his little food ball, and then he'll eat all the way around it.
Yeah, Radar was saying, you used to love Bear aspirin. Yeah, me too. They had a good flavor. I like baby aspirin, man.
Well, I
Probably
bought
not
a bottle
good to eat as a
yesterday
meal,
for my dog.
Do what?
I bought a bottle yesterday at Walmart, and it was 96 cents.
Mine cost $1. I got cheated.
Okay, wait a minute. I only got 36 tablets, though.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Oh, well, then I paid 3 cents less.
Yes, you did.
Me and old Walmart, which I hate shopping in. I just think they watch you more than they watch their building security.
Yeah, betcha. Absolutely. Yep. That's my hatred of them. Then
and
they want to ask you when you're leaving to
Walmart.
See your receipt, and it's like, blow it out your ass. You ain't seeing dick. Get the fuck away from me. Ask me again, I'll punch you right in the mouth. Not you, Walmart.
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm tired of getting asked for receipts. I feel like a criminal when I have to get those receipts.
Yeah, that's why I get angry with it, man. I said, man, I ain't showing you shit, man. Like, I paid for this. You go ask the lady in there. If you don't like it, man, talk to me later because I'm out of here. Bye.
They watch you from the time you walk in the store to the time you walk out. And now they've got those solar security cameras out in the parking lot. So they watch you a lot longer.
Yep.
Than what you know. And some of their products now have got GPS identifiers in them, and they're a very thin strip. They're about as wide as the oil dipstick on your car, but they're very thin and very flexible. And you don't always see them when you buy a sweatshirt or whatever at Walmart, but they can actually track that through the life of the product. And that's invasive.
It is. They know exactly where it is at all times.
And all they have to do is match that GPS signal or whatever kind of signal it puts out to your customer card, and they know exactly who you are, what you're doing, the whole 9 yards. And I don't like that.
Well, it's the same thing with like rescue dogs.
Like what?
Rescue dogs.
Oh, rescue dogs, yeah.
They chip them. And they know wherever that dog is, so are you. And they know who you are. It's another invasive way. It's just like listening to me on my camera. It's just like watching me here. They can do it all the time.
Well, I guess I don't like Walmart.
I don't like Walmart. They sell cheap Chinese shit.
They do. sometimes cheap Chinese shit. Please say that fast 3 times. Cheap Chinese shit.
There it
Hard
is.
to say. Is okay and it'll do for the time being, but I've had the same jumper cables that were made in America, by the way.
Yeah, they last forever.
Over 30 years.
That's right. Good manufacturer quality.
Well, in this winter, it started everything from a Subaru to a motorhome to a Mercedes to a big diesel semi-truck. And I didn't think my truck would start that. But these are heavy-duty, long cables. And it sure did. And like I said, I've gotten my money out of them. But they've gone on every single trip that I've been on and never failed. They're just like brand new in the bag. But anyway, to get back to it, Walmart is too militarized for me.
Exactly. And that is the word, militarized. That is what they are. And it's also what, America's largest shopping centers?
Oh, yeah. And, it's just bothering that they know. I don't know what's coming next. Are they going to have sensors in our food to see what kind of food we eat? Pharmacy products to see where your pain prescription goes?
Probably already there.
That's scary. Yeah. That is scary. To start following your prescriptions, because they very well could.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what this country is coming to. I hope some of this slows down with Trump.
Well, we got the old coronavirus that's going to be like worse than the Spanish flu. So, we got that to look forward to. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Man, the markets, yesterday, man, the markets dropped like 2,000 points.
Yep.
2,000 points. Now, you go back a couple days before that, it had the highest gain ever. Highest gain ever, man. It was almost 1,300 points.
Is anybody else suspect of the coronavirus coming out of China in an election year?
Is anybody suspect in it?
No. Does anybody else suspect? Is it... Okay, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
Is it suspicious?
Yes.
That in an election year, we have the coronavirus straight out of some unsanitary animal market in China?
Well, yes and no. I'll put it to you like this. From my understanding, and I did not look deeply into it at this time. It's been a long week. But the virus itself was manufactured in America. And it was used in China to see how it worked within a population. And then, of course, they allowed the people to come back with corona, and then that caused the shutdown. But they're saying that it grows exponentially and that it could really take over, and that's why they're trying to stop it. Smart money says at the same time, with the markets dropping the way they are, they're going to use this to destroy the economy, to totally break it down. Cause major health concern worldwide. There's a lot that could go into that, a whole lot. And that's why it was manufactured to be that way. They said it's only going to look like a couple cases, maybe a few. It ain't going to look bad. And then one day it's just like, holy shit, man, like everybody and their brother has it. And then what, man? These people need hospitalization. And the people it's really killing are the old people. Now, if you look at...
Careful, Michael.
What? What?
I'm 65. I'm part of that old people group.
Oh, man, no. Okay, all right, fine. Well, don't get corona. But all of the big viruses that's come out over time, all of them, and you can look this up, all of them have come out during election years. Now, if that is the case, especially this year, who would you blame? Democrats, correct? because
Well,
they can't.
a lot of finger pointing going on.
Well, they can't win the election unless they can destroy the economy. And then, guess what? Game on. Because that's what they played for the whole time. It's no different than Walmart.
Well, I wish I understood that more. I don't, but it seems awfully funny.
It's more than that.
Not funny, humorous, but funny, weird.
Funny criminal.
Yeah, this came out of China. That, I think we were as prepared as we could be for it, and never saw the day it would really come. But boy, I'll tell you, the state of Colorado yesterday, the governor, the mayor of Denver, and God only knows who else was at the Capitol building, and they declared an emergency in Colorado. Governor of Ohio did the same thing. And that's right next door to you.
Yeah, it's right to my, left now, but if I was facing that way, it'd be to my right.
Yeah. And I know that when they declare that emergency, that they're qualified to access emergency FEMA money and pay for these tests. But I think there's only 1,500 test kits available right now in the state of Colorado. They are starting drive-through testing out somewhere a ways away from the population center, and you have to have a doctor's order to get it, and that starts tomorrow. And I don't know how many more they're going to find. There are 15 positive cases out here right now, and I know that the guy that was out skiing at Keystone, he's infected countless people because he was all over that resort, eating, skiing, intermingling for a whole day.
Yeah.
And they're just not even guessing how many people he may have infected. And they're waiting for his second positive test to come back. So, I'm just being very careful. And if people get sanitizing wipes to carry like in their car, you need to make sure it's got 60% alcohol in it. And if not, buy a bottle of good alcohol and just dump it in it. Yes, it will hurt if you have any paper cuts.
Yeah, I've done that.
But, yeah, it's just one of those
hard
things
times
that it has to have that alcohol content in it to kill the virus. That's my little contribution today.
Well, thank you very much for that. And very good to know. It's good knowledge.
It is, because I didn't realize that. And when you look at the back of these little wipe packages, a lot of them don't even have alcohol in them.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. Wipes. They don't care, man. They say sanitized, man. People believe it. Nah, it's China.
It's China, and this is way above my pay grade. And I don't understand it and don't pretend to, but I can figure enough out. And it was kind of alarming. There are only 13 states, Michigan's one of them, that doesn't have any cases. And that means that there are 37 that do. And California is just kind of exploding out there.
See, I didn't even
Nobody
heard
else
that.
gets Seattle. Yeah, California has got a lot of people that they are testing. I think the private labs take 4 days, and state laboratories can do it in 24 hours.
Well, you know what? Once that shit hits Indiana, man, I ain't leaving home. No, man, I got a 22 rifle, man. I'll go kill my food. I don't care. But guess what, man? You come up here from FEMA, you ain't getting dick, and I ain't answering my door. And if you come in, it's going to be a bad day.
Well, you've already had a whole 7 bad days, so...
Good point. Point well taken.
Wait a little while and recover.
Well,
And with that, I'm going to let you go.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to get off of here. So thank you very much for calling, Miss Cavalier, and it's always good speaking with you. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate getting the practice.
Well, you're plenty much welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. All viewers, subscribers, my mods, the phone callers, everybody. This is going to be a better week. This I can tell you now. It's going to be way better than last week. So I should get everything done and completed. I will have the first part of Lost in the Focus on video is my hope before next week. And I should have my next live next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for being here. Peace, y'all.